Welcome to the Building with Metal podcast, presented by McElroy Metal. Whether you're a contractor, architect, designer, or building owner, we're here to help you build better with metal roofing and siding products.
So what separates a good metal roof from a great metal roof?
Well, a lot of times it's the installation of the roof itself, how the details are done and how the things are put together to form a roof that sheds water properly and doesn't leak.
That's always the goal, right? Okay, so then,
Correct.
speaking of leaking, what is the biggest detail, Lane, that you see in the field that causes contractors problems?
It's a number of things. One of the biggest things is how they do the penetrations, how they're putting holes in the metal roof. We like to say that a metal roof panel is never going to leak, but it's the holes that we put in it that causes problems. That would be like pipe penetrations or curb penetrations, something that where we've got to do something to a panel so that it's not a continuous panel anymore, or it has some sort of hole in it. So not doing those properly can cause us headache with leaks.
Yeah, the devil's in the details for sure.
Correct.
Welcome to the Building with Metal podcast, presented to you by McElroy Metal. A metal roof can be designed perfectly, manufactured perfectly, but if it's installed incorrectly, none of that matters. Joining us today is our very own Lane Osman, who's our most senior technical specialist in our Weather-Tight warranty department. Today, we're going to talk about all the common installation mistakes Lane sees and his team, the contractor training we offer, roof inspections, and what things you can do different to make your metal roof go from good to great. Welcome to the show, Lane.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this conversation. I always love it when we get to talk to one of our McElroy team members. So let's kind of maybe start at the beginning, Lane. Weather-Tightness warranty is a term we throw around a lot. We've even got our acronym, right, our WTW. But maybe if somebody's not familiar with what one is, we ought to start there. Can you talk about what a weather-tight warranty is and what it offers to building owners?
Yeah, a weather-tightness warranty is basically a guarantee that the manufacturer provides to the building owner that the roof system that they're purchasing is going to hold weather elements outside of their building envelope for extended periods of time. And we're going to guarantee that once it's installed properly, that's going to happen. And so that if something happens later on, they have somebody to come back to say, hey, my roof is leaking. Is this a problem? Can we get it fixed? And we'll do that for extended periods of time, up to 25 years.
And so can you get a weather-tight warranty on all types of metal roofing products, and do all manufacturers offer them?
No, you can't. McElroy provides weather-tightness warranties for our standing seam products only. Okay, it's any product that we can manufacture where we have the ability to inject factory-applied sealants in the seam so that when we lap the seams together, it is a full sealed seam for the length of the panel. So all of our through-fastened products, we don't offer warranties on those because there's no way for us to guarantee that every fastener can be put in correctly and that we don't have some issues. And then the inspecting of those two would be difficult as well. It would take a long time to try to inspect every fastener, which is what we would need to do. So we only do our standing seam products.
Yeah. And can you imagine the inspectors at McElroy are overbooked and backlogged now? Can you imagine trying to look at every fastener on an exposed roof? You guys would never get anything done.
That's true. We're scheduled at least 3 weeks out for all of our inspectors now. So, and they're always adding inspections and trying to meet other people's needs when they need inspections as best we can. But like I said, we stay booked up somewhere between 3 to 4 weeks out.
So yeah, let's talk about the inspections a little bit. What is the process? And all manufacturers probably vary a little bit. So let's just say this is specific to McElroy. Let's say that I'm a contractor and I have a project that has a weather-tight warranty. Can you kind of give me a 50,000-foot view of what that looks like from an inspection standpoint and how the process works?
Well, the process actually starts before the product is ever purchased. If it requires a weather-tightness warranty on it, then we're going to look at the project at what we call a pre-approval stage, where somebody's going to, there's a project out for bid that has a warranty or requires a warranty on it. We're going to look at it there and look and see if there are any problems with the design of the roof that's going to cause us to do something contrary to what's normal. Okay, and then once we get that pre-approved, then the installer has to provide us with detailed drawings of the installation, the methods of installation that they're going to do. And once they do that, we'll look at those and verify that they meet our requirements for the warranties and that there are weather-tight details. And then once the roof is installed, we will go out and physically look at the installation. And what we're typically looking for during our inspections is we have a set of approved details. The contractor has that set when they start the project. Did they install the roof according to the details that we approved? Now, sometimes that is, yes, they did, and everything's looking good. Then we're just looking for maybe some little voids that where some sealant wasn't compressed, or maybe it's a wrong fastener that has to be just changed out or something like that. But if it doesn't look like the approved detail, then we ask the question, Mr. Contractor, what did you do here? So they will have to provide us with a new detail of what they did, and we will look at that to see if it can be approved. If it can be approved, then we may just have a few minor corrections, and then we just add that into our folder and keep record of that. But if it can't be approved, then they're going to have to redo that particular detail in order to get it covered under the warranty. Once the inspections are done, then once they'll need to let us know that they've made all the repairs. Once they've made all the repairs, paid all their invoices, then the warranty will be issued to them.
Perfect. And are there different levels of warranties, Lane, or is everything the same?
No, there are different levels of warranties. McElroy has basically two different warranties. They have a joint warranty and a single source warranty. The joint warranty is an agreement between the installer and the manufacturer to the owner to provide a weather-tight roof. So it's jointly held by the installer for 24 consecutive months. He's responsible for that roof if there has an issue with it. And after he's met that requirement, then McElroy is responsible for the rest of the time. That's the joint warranty. Single source warranties are basically the owner has one recourse if there's a problem, and that's to come to McElroy Metal. And then we will take care of what needs to be taken care of from that point. We'll get somebody to go take a look at it, see what the problem is, see what needs to be fixed, see if it is McElroy's problem or if it's not McElroy's problem. Sometimes we get calls for leaks when it's not even our product that is leaking. So sometimes we have to go investigate things and say, well, that's not really a McElroy issue, so we're not responsible for that. So, but right. That's the two basic warranties. Now, there is different values in those warranties, which we call liability limits. How much McElroy will be able to pay out for those particular warranties.
So I think one of the reasons I kind of asked you to go into some of that, I think one of the biggest misconceptions about weather-tight warranties is that they're all the same and that every manufacturers are the same, and then they're not all created equal.
No, they're not.
So, you talked earlier about penetrations being the one area on a roof that can cause contractors the most trouble. Is that the most popular area where you see situations that prevent you and your team from issuing weather-tight warranties?
It's a large area of preventing, what prevents us from issuing the warranty, or an area that has to have some repair done before we can issue the warranty. We have certain requirements for curb penetrations that have to be followed. And a lot of companies like to take sheet metal flashings and wrap a curb there, but McElroy doesn't allow that to be included in our weather tightness warranty. We have a specific requirement for a welded aluminum curb or welded stainless steel. We can touch on the curb first before we go into the pipe penetrations, if you have questions about that.
Sure. I'm just curious, why would we require a welded curb when some other people maybe don't?
Well, the thing about the welded curb is we have special requirements for the curbs to be welded aluminum or welded stainless steel. That means there will be no pinhole in the corners from the flashings. And every time you try to wrap a flashing around something, at every corner there will be a pinhole. And one of the things that I tell people that come to our class What's different about metal roofing versus just about any other type of roofing material that we use is metal is always moving in some form of fashion. It's either growing or shrinking with temperature changes. So those pinholes will open and close over a period of time. So we don't want that, so we're going to require welded aluminum or welded stainless steel. The reason we require the welded aluminum or welded stainless is because they won't corrode. They do make welded galvanized curds, but in order to weld, you're going to heat up the steel to weld it, and that burns the coatings away from the edges. And then they go back in and recoat it with a primer paint or some sort of coating material, but it just doesn't have the longevity. And welded aluminum is welded with aluminum, so there's nothing there to corrode. And the corrosion that goes on the panel will damage the surface of the panel, the paints and the coatings that are on the steel, and that will void those warranties as well. So we try to make sure no pinholes and a material that's not going to corrode over time.
That makes total sense. You mentioned that you often teach our installer training program. Talk to us a little bit about why you think contractor training and certification is so important on weather-tight warranty projects, if you would, Lane.
Okay, well, that's true. It is important for weather-tight warranty projects. And the basic reason we do that is to teach our customers the parts, pieces, and components that go with our metal roof systems and how those things go together and what we're looking for when we assemble those parts and pieces and what can go wrong. We'll go over that as well. We talk about, we basically do hands-on for 2 of our products, but we talk about all of our standing seam products in the class. And once they come to the class, they are certified for all of our standing seam products. Once they pass our little test at the end of the class. So, but it gives them an education basically of what our product is, what parts and pieces go with what systems, and what we're looking for when it's installed. And we cover some do's and don'ts with regard to metal roofing in general. And we also cover problems that we've seen in the past, what's good about our systems, and what happens when it's not installed according to the details, and what we see, what kind of failures we've seen in the past. Also, one of the other things about the training is a lot of the specifications that we see for commercial projects. The architect has it written in the specs that they want somebody to install the roof that is approved by the manufacturer. Now, that only way we can provide documentation to an architect that somebody is approved for our systems is if they've been through our class and passed our certification. Anybody can buy the metal, but if we got to document something, we need to have them come through our class.
Yeah, and those are good points. I've also always shared with contractors that I sent to the class that one of the unspoken benefits is that you get to spend time with the actual inspectors like yourself that are going to be on that roof. And so they develop a relationship, and during the install, sometimes I know they'll reach out and say, "Hey, I'm working on this project, Lane. I'm struggling with this condition," and you guys are, can be accessible to them at that point as well to prevent problems down the road, which I think is a huge benefit of our program.
I get calls all the time. In fact, I've had several today where contractors called me up and said, "Hey, I'm having this issue. Can we do this?" And then we will look at the details and say, "Yeah, we'll need a new detail for you to use as a new detail," or "No, that really doesn't work for our weather tightness." And sometimes we're asked things about what screws do we need to use and things like that. I've had that conversation today. How do we get this screw? There's all kinds of questions that we're answered. And one of the things about the technical specialist job is we basically need to know about all the products McElroy sells. Not only our standing seam products, what we're involved with the most, but we get questions about our through-fastened products, our wall panels, our single skin products and things like that all the time. So people are asking us questions of, "Hey, how do I do this? What do I need to do here?" On a constant basis.
Yeah, I'm sure that you guys' phones are very busy all the time, and email, of course. So walk me through, if you would, one of our specialists, just arrived at a job site. They're getting ready to start their inspection. Do they have a checklist? Just walk us through kind of what a general inspection would look like, if you would, Lane. What things you're looking for, et cetera.
So when we get to the project, we're going to coordinate with the contractor. The contractors have to provide us with safe access to the roof. All right, so we got to be safe while we're doing it. All of our inspectors know if they get to a project and it's a steep roof or something like that, and there's no provisions for tie-offs or there's no lift there to get them up to the roof, they all know don't do something that's unsafe. So that's key first. The contractor has to provide us with that safety. And then once we get there, usually we start right at the eave because we're going to be going up to the eave first. That's the first part of the roof that we're going to get to. We're going to look at the eave conditions. Is the eave installed per the detail? And our inspectors carry a set of the approved details to the job site. And we're going to look at that. Are the sealants in place? Are the fasteners they used correct? Are any of them over-tightened? Any of them not tightened enough? Or things like that. And then we'll move up from there. We'll either move up to the ridge and do the ridge, looking for, are the outside closures installed correctly? How is the ridge trim attached? Is it hooked or are there fasteners? What's the spacing on the fasteners? And what about the lap joints? Are the lap joints sealed, which is a requirement for our warranties? All of the lap joints have to be sealed. Are there voids in the lap joints where the sealant's not compressed between the two pieces of metal? We look for things like that. We look for our rake conditions. Is the rake installed per the detail? Are those lap joints sealed? If they're using a Z closure on a rake condition, did they install it in a way where it's not lapped backwards? Or is it lapped properly? We'll look for things like that. Valley conditions. Is the valley installed correctly? How about the lap joints in the valley? Are they sealed? All right. Is the end of the panel into the valley sealed properly? Things like that. Then we'll look at penetration details. Are the pipes done properly? Are the curbs done properly? And then we'll take pictures. We're taking pictures constantly of everything that we see, both good and bad, because sometimes we need a reference. Hey, this was a good way to do that, so we can provide that to another customer. Say, hey, this is some way a contractor did it that really works for us. So you can do it like that. And then once we get everything done, we'll come back and take those pictures, put them in a report, and send the contractor a report of what we saw, what was deficient or not according to the drawings, and then what we need to do or what we need them to do to correct it. And then once they do all those corrections, there's a spot on the report where they can sign the report and send it back to us. And that lets us know that they read the report, understood it, and made all the corrections. And then once that's done, then our admin will start making sure all the invoices are paid and get the rest of the information she needs to put on the warranty, and then bill for the inspection, and then send out the warranty for signatures. Now, the final warranty can't be executed until all the invoices are paid.
So about how many weather-tight warranties inspections do we do a year? Because I know some real small box buildings may not require an inspection, right? But
yeah, they may not, and depending on the value of the warranty. Probably in the hundreds. I don't have an accurate count on that, but like I say, a lot of times when we leave here for an inspection, we'll be gone for 2 or 3 days, and we may do 2 to 4 inspections in that time period. When we can coordinate those inspections, are all in a certain area. Like we just had one of our inspectors go up to Illinois he had 2 inspections he was going to do up there, and then once he left, we got a call that one of them wasn't going to be ready, but we had another call that needed another inspection on another project. So he was able to still do the 2 inspections while he was in Illinois.
Well, there you go.
And then he came back and then wrote the reports out and got those out to the customers.
Earlier, Lane, we talked about kind of one of the big misconceptions on warranties maybe being that they're all the same from every manufacturer, right? What are some other misconceptions that you've heard or experienced when you're working with contractors installing in the field?
Yeah, I know McElroy, so I've been with McElroy doing the weather side, but not all warranties have the same language in them. Not all warranties are going to make the same coverage and things like that. So what McElroy tries to do is provide a warranty that will perform and will benefit the owner. That's why we go through all the trouble of proving the drawings, doing the inspections, writing the reports, and then to get to a warranty that we can issue. And so we spend a lot of time doing that. Looking at the pre-approval process, when we're looking at the roof plan to begin with, are there any areas where water's draining into something where it can't get out? Because water cannot pond on a metal roof. It has to be, free flowing. Are there certain details that are certain areas where we can't provide a detail? It's what we call field work. It has to be assembled in the field by the person doing it. Well, what's their knowledge base? Do they have the knowledge to do that, to assemble that and make a watertight condition? So there's a lot of things that go into the warranty. And like I said, we spend a lot of time and effort making sure that our warranties are, that the roof is installed correctly to prevent it from leaks. Like everybody with the warranties, we don't want to have to pay out for a claim, and we want it to provide that guarantee to the owner. But we will if something fails.
As you think about different projects over how many years have you been doing this thing?
This is my 19th year with McElroy now as a technical
Time
specialist.
flies.
As a technical specialist and an inspector.
Okay, so over the last 19 years, what type of projects do you feel benefit the most from a weather-tight warranty?
Well, the projects that we warranty most are going to be commercial projects or government projects, and they're the ones that are going to have the higher limit warranties, and they're the ones that want the warranties. We don't do a lot of residential type warranties because, face it, the warranties, there's a cost associated with those, and homeowners, they're paying a lot of money for a metal roof to begin with, and it just increases their costs. So a lot of times the homeowners don't buy the warranties, but large commercial projects, municipalities, and government jobs, they're the ones that they're going to want a guarantee of the performance of that roof, and that's the ones that we provide the warranties on the most.
So, some people will say, save the money on your weather-tight warranty and just make sure that you hire a really good, reputable, trusted contractor. How do you feel about that?
Well, they can. I mean, that's sure, but how do you know that it's a reputable contractor? And how do you know that that contractor that's talking to you actually knows what they're doing? And that's one of the things that with our certification project, and when we do our classes, we like to have contractors come through, and we can kind of get a feel with them doing the hands-on. Do they actually know metal roofing? Can they assemble that in a way that's not going to leak, right? And then we have a qualification process that's required for our upper limit warranties for the contractor itself. The contractor, we have to know that they know metal roofing and they're a capable company.
At McElroy, we certify the person that attends our class, correct? Not the company, it's the attendee.
The certification is for the attendee. It's in the attendee's name, but is associated with the contractor that sent them. So we're not certifying an individual that, if he leaves company X and goes to company Y, then his certification doesn't travel with him. It stays with the company that paid for him to come to class, unless that company wants to provide us with a document that says it's okay if he takes his certification. Most of the time, it stays with the company that sent them. Mm-hmm. So, and the bad part about that is if you only got one guy that came through our class and he leaves your company, then you got to get somebody in the class again to get another certified employee. The warranties require a certified installer to be on the project when the metal is going down. And what we find during inspections is typically when we look at it, we can tell if there's a certified guy by the way they installed it, because there'll be less problems with those roofs than there will be with somebody that has never been to our class and maybe it's his first time using our metal.
That makes another great point, right? I mean, there is a cost for the class, of course, and you're going to travel some distance and you're going to have this person out of the field, for a couple days. But boy, the potential for paybacks are really big, as far as efficiencies, doing it right the first time, being able to get warranties issued. So there definitely is. We have really good feedback on the class. You guys do a great job with that.
Yeah, what I tell people that come through our class, and I have this from experience. Before I came to work for McElroy, I worked in the field for 32 years. So, but one of the things about doing it wrong is it costs the contractor 3 times as much for the same condition, because you got to pay somebody to do it the first time, and if you have to go back and redo it, you got to pay somebody to tear it apart, and you got to pay somebody to put it back together. So that one condition costs you 3 times what it was supposed to. We avoid some of that when the people have come through our class, and we've taught them what we require for warranties, and again, those little things that we can do for a better installation. Maybe it's not specific to our product, but just metal in general, so they can get a good quality job and don't have to go back and redo something. We always tell them that we're looking for the details, follow the details that were approved. I can't tell you the number of times I've gone out to projects, got with the customer and whoever he sent out to the project to provide us with access, and they'll be installing something, and I'll go, well, where are your details? Where are your approved details? And then it's, what details? Or maybe they're down in the truck, or something like that. And I'm going, well, how can you follow the details if you're not looking at them? The nice thing about our digital age that we're in now is a lot of people carry tablets, and they're up on the roof, and they can have those plans, and they're electronic, and they're not blowing all over the roof, and they can look at them as they're doing it.
Exactly. That has made a huge difference. So,
Yes.
well, if you had one tip that you feel like helps installers do a better job installing, or maybe it's even a productivity hack of some sort, Elaine, what would it be?
Well, that's a hard one. But with any product, if it's not installed correctly, it can fail. So the tip that I would give most is know the product and know what's required to install it properly. And when you do that, then you're going to get a much better job, and you're going to have less issues with that job in the long run.
Perfect. I mean, I think that's a nice takeaway for all of our listeners as we wrap up today, right? And I guess if I had to summarize that, it would be simply know your product, build relationships with the manufacturer you're going to work with, and maybe try to get some training from them. Is that fair?
That's fair. We're always here to help. We're here to make sure McElroy gets a good quality roof, but we want to help our contractors get to that point.
That's the partnership we all strive on. Well, thanks for joining the show today, Lane. I'm sure our listeners took away more than one nugget, so I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Building with Metal podcast, presented by McElroy Metal. To stay up to date with our latest episodes, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Visit us online at www.mcelroymetal.com for more info and products. Until next time, keep building with metal.